What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And as you see in the title of this stream, you know exactly what we are going to be getting into today. The Philadelphia Flyers organization and how much of a goddamn dumpster fire they actually are. And how much right now I just despise the way this organization is just being run into the goddamn ground. That's basically going to be the entire discussion of this stream. Anyone that's going to be joining us today, definitely express your frustrations. That could be with the Anytime Hotline, 215-839-9885. You can also leave any comments in the YouTube live feed. Like I said in previous streams, it's your preference. And if you're leaving a text or a voicemail, definitely I recommend you leaving your name just so I can use that for future use and all that stuff for, future streams. So-and-so calls back, they want to share their opinion. So, like I said, I'm just giving you preference and all that stuff. So, my goodness. And also, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal. So, without further ado, let's get into tonight. My God. This Flyers team, as you can see basically from the channel whatsoever, we'd be doing, Flyers recaps, most likely after every game, but I physically can't do that. Watching this team every single game, and yes, I still do watch this team every single game. Home games, I'm up there either in the stands or in the press box, or road games, they're basically just background noise at this point. I physically can't do these recaps anymore with the Flyers because they're just that bad. They are just that bad. The way this team is being run into the dirt by Chuck Fletcher and this entire Flyers front office, it's that egregious. Where I'm just looking at this team just wither and die in front of me, and it's not in, like, I know injuries, yes, they are a factor, but it's not just injuries. The way this team is being run, I love this team to the bottom of my heart, but I hate the way they're being run. I think that's the most important thing we should, discuss on that point. Both can be true. I love this team. I hate the way they're being run. You can love and hate this team. It's the matter of the fact that the way they're being ran, it just feels like they don't care. It feels like they're just completely tone deaf to the actual situation. We're getting John Tortorella in press conferences say one thing, and then you hear Chuck Fletcher in another press conference say something completely different, to where they're both contradicting each other, to where you hear John Tortorella discussing, oh, this sounds like more of a rebuild, and then you're hearing Chuck Fletcher say, we're 5 points out of a wild card spot, when our guys come back healthy, I expect us to be competitive and all of that. Dude, do you not see the product on the ice? Do you not see the pure lack of talent, the pure lack of offense, or, like I said, just talent everywhere around on this organizational front? It's unbelievable at this point that you can sit there in front of us in a press conference, even though they didn't even show us this Chuck Fletcher press conference. We're getting, from the media on Twitter, everything like that. So, you see Sam Carchidi post, you see Charlie O'Connor post, everyone else, and all that stuff. But, like, the way that he could just sit there to the media, completely tone deaf, and try to come up with something to say, oh, this team can still compete. I still think this team, we're 5 points out of a wild card spot. Chuck, it's December. We're not talking playoffs right now. Everyone and their mother could have predicted, going into the season, this Flyers team was not going to make the playoffs. They were most likely going to bottom out. Yeah, the way they started, okay, that was definitely some worth some talking points right there. But overall, we knew that that wasn't what the actual team was. That was the John Tortorella, getting everyone involved and everyone getting believing into the message of John Tortorella. Then the injuries all started to happen. And then eventually this team came back down to earth. Yes, injuries are a part of this. Injuries are not the full thing. Yes, you lost a lot of your main guys. You don't have Sean Couturier. You lost Travis Konecny for a short period of time. You're down JVR. Who else are you down? Ryan Ellis is never going to play again. That's basically bottom line right there. He's out for the season once again. Most likely he's never playing another NHL game. That's just what I expect at this point. And then it just feels like every other game we're going to be seeing a new injury. Tony DeAngelo was out for a little bit. Scott Lawton was out for a little bit. I know injuries are a factor. And then also, yeah, you got a lot of players in this team that probably shouldn't even be in the NHL. Seriously, you see Bellows get waived, and then a couple of games prior to that, he's on the first power play unit. And then you're seeing the line combinations. I know John Tortorella literally has nothing to work with. This is not me blaming John Tortorella whatsoever. I think he's the least of the Flyers' concerns right now because he literally just came into this mess and he's trying to restructure the culture and he's doing the John Tortorella thing, being a hard ass and everything like that. So that's, the least of my worries. Do I think he's being a little bit too hard on guys like Kevin Hayes, who is a point per game player, surprisingly? I firmly believe that you have to sell high on Kevin Hayes this year with the way that he is playing. Try to find a suitor at the trade deadline with the way that he's producing offensively, but you're seeing John Tortorella with Kevin Hayes, moving him the wing, moving him down, flopping him consistently up and down the lineup. It just feels like, John, what are you doing here? And it's just, I feel like you're being a little too hard on the guy. And then also John Tortorella says things like Travis Konecny is probably the most leader. You see Travis Konecny as a full-blown leader? I don't see that. I don't see it whatsoever. And then Scott Lawton's the only guy that's wearing the A, which I don't know. There's so many things wrong with this team. It's funny. When I was at the game yesterday, in the press conference with John Tortorella, there was someone behind me that tried to ask, what was the main positive thing that you could take out of last night's loss? Because the Flyers did play a game last night. They lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting completely outclassed in every aspect of the game. And yeah, the first period was solid and all that. They were only down 1-0, and they weren't getting played by a wide margin. But then once you get into the second and third period on, you can definitely tell how outclassed the team was. Seriously, I'm going to use this, great line from the great movie Moneyball, Brad Pitt and all that stuff, where he's describing the Oakland Athletics, Tampa Bay and all these other organizations, they're way up here. And then there's heaping piles of shit. And then there's the Philadelphia Flyers. That's how low on the scale they are. Seriously, you get John Tortorella talking about Morgan Frost, comparing him to a toilet seat. And the Flyers organization right now is what's in the toilet. They're shit. The entire organization, the way it's ran, from top to bottom, is just complete and utter shit. That's how bad it's gotten. And fans are fed up. They're rightfully fed up. It's getting old at this point. You're seeing basically throughout every game now. I was in the press box. There was someone that was chanting, fire Chuck Fletcher, basically taunting Fletcher throughout the entire night, basically ever since the second period ended. It's funny, I got into a conversation with that guy on Twitter. I posted on Twitter. You can also follow me there. It's right down there below in the text box, Amadeo Gracia 98. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok as well. We're starting up a TikTok here. So, yeah, that's definitely something you can utilize there as well. But yeah, it's just, fans are rightfully fed up. It's understandable. You're seeing on 97.5 The Fanatic people calling in about people that are, wanting to get rid of their season tickets. You're going into the arena every single night. It's a ghost town in there. Literally, it is a ghost town. Yeah, you'll get your game when maybe you have some nice attendance and all that stuff just because it's that certain day. Maybe it's a game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maybe it's a game against the New York Rangers or the Devils. Even though probably 75% of that is Pittsburgh, New Jersey, or New York fans. But it's still a decent crowd when you see those teams. But if it's a Tuesday night against the Anaheim Ducks, or just in general, the attendance-wise, no one's showing up the games. No one. Absolutely no one. It hopefully should show some sign to Comcast that, how shit this is getting. How bad this is getting. Because it's a goddamn issue. It really is. And I have no idea what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of rumblings about, Danny Briere possibly taking over the reins soon as the general manager. I don't know how I feel about that. Just because Danny Briere's being, winged into everything because, he's been with Chuck Fletcher basically throughout this entire situation. The special assistant to the general manager and all that stuff. I don't trust Dave Scott whatsoever. Do I think Danny Briere can come in? Seriously, even if you bring a established general manager into this situation, a veteran GM, with all the crap that this team is in right now, with the way they're strung up with the cap, all these terrible contracts that they have on the entire team, even a veteran manager in this league, a veteran guy, a guy that's been around, he's even going to have problems with this, trying to get this team out of this, shithole that they're in. Do I trust Danny Briere to get us? That's a tough job to ask out of a rookie. And this is not to knock Danny Briere whatsoever, because I have no idea what he is. I have no idea if he's this next up and coming great, fantastic GM like a Steve Yzerman or anything like that, or he's going to be another shit GM. I just don't know. And I hate to, put that on, because I would love to believe in Danny Briere, but I just can't, fully trust in everything because he's been under the wings of Chuck Fletcher for the past couple of seasons. I can't do that. I simply can't do that. My God. My goodness. This team just, it's a whole string of emotions with this team because they just don't know what they're doing. They simply don't know. They're running themselves into the gutter. The way the team is ran, the way they've been developing prospects for years, the way they've been drafting for years. You can talk a lot about the drafting with this team. You can talk a lot about it in the product on the ice. Yeah, granted, these guys are giving their effort every single game. Like, you can't knock them for their effort. It's just the fact they're not good. They're not good. You're seeing Zach McEwen on the second and the first line. You're seeing guys, Delorier and Zach McEwen fight in the first 8 seconds of the game. When you have to rely on fighting to bring some type of energy to your team, you're a bad team. You are a bad team. When you have to rely on fighting consistently to get some type of energy. You know what I want to see? I want to see guys flying up and down the ice. I want to see creativity. I want to see goddamn offense. I want to see a guy that could put up 100+ points a year. And when are we going to find that? I have no clue. I just don't. Yeah, there's guys in the draft this year. This is supposed to be a very deep upcoming NHL entry draft. Do I guarantee the Flyers even win a draft lottery? I have no idea. They're probably not gonna. And I know tanking out, getting the worst, getting the best odds possible, being the worst team in the NHL, it still doesn't even guarantee you win the draft lottery. You still have probably better odds of moving down than staying with the first overall pick. Make your chances better. Even though I still do think this team is going to bottom out. They're right now, I believe, one of the 7th worst team in the National Hockey League. They have the worst offense in the NHL, that's for sure. This team has no offensive creativity whatsoever. But they're just that bad. And I just don't want to hear the injury excuse anymore. Like John Tortorella, he's saying, fundamentally, you can understand what he's going through. Like, he's trying to restructure this culture. He's trying to build these guys. He's trying to make them learn the game. He's trying to, make them understand the right things to do, get into good habits and all that stuff, which is understandable why he's doing this. Then he does the usual John Tortorella stuff, when he doesn't show up for press conferences. When he gets pissed off, that's just a John Tortorella experience. That's what we signed up for. Was he the right hire at the right time? I have no idea. Like I said, he's the least of the concerns right now, John Tortorella. The least of the worries, the least of the concerns right now with this organization. It's just unbearable what this front office basically has done. You can even see the past 2 regimes of front office. From Ron Hextall, with his patientness and honestly, the mediocre drafting, right along to Chuck Fletcher, and basically just putting this team right back into the gutter with these terrible contracts, with a lot of this, term money spent into a lot of guys. Got Nick Delorier locked up for 4 years. Nick Delorier. And then a guy that's most likely his job is in jeopardy. He's still out there signing contracts. Like, he's re-signing Travis Sanheim to 8 years. 8 years. Travis Sanheim, 8-year contract. What are we doing? And that's not to say Travis Sanheim is a terrible player, because he's a solid player in this league. He's not a guy that you commit 8 years to. He just isn't. He's not a guy you commit 8 years of your team to. The Kevin Hayes contract, say what you want about it, but right now he's playing fantastic hockey right now. He's basically the best player on the team currently. Like I said, I would sell high on Kevin Hayes. With the way he's playing right now, with the points that he's racking up, you're not going to be good for a little bit. You're not going to be good for a while. Find a way to trade him at the trade deadline. I know he's got a modified no trade clause. Find a way. Completely find a way. If you can, teams are going to look at his offensive production. They're going to find something there. I know the contract and the term is definitely something questionable right there, but if you're a team that's not going to be good and you're, even though I have no idea what you're doing, aggressive retool or what, rebuild or whatever, you're not going to be good for the next, I would say, 3, 4, 5 years at this point. You can eat some salary. You can retain some salary on a Kevin Hayes trade. I firmly believe that whatsoever. You can retain salary and get something more in return for that. If a team, they're trading for a Kevin Hayes and they only have to eat like, 3, 4 million of that contract and the Flyers eat the other rest, I think the term is no issue, because if you're adding a Kevin Hayes to a Stanley Cup contender, if a team that needs a second or a, third line center, that's probably especially with the way that he's producing right now offensively, because he's probably one of, besides Travis Konecny, who is also having a nice bounce back year, but still I would trade Travis Konecny in the heartbeat at this point. My honest opinion, I just feel like right now you got to completely strip it down to the gutter from everything, because right now you're not building anything with this core, even though there really isn't a core right now. No one's untouchable in my honest opinion, even though I would say the slightly untouchable guy is Carter Hart. But if a team came after and gave me this, offer that I just couldn't not refuse, prospects, picks, and all that stuff, I trade Carter Hart if it was for the right deal. Like I said, it's one of those situations where it's got to be, you got to be offering a ton. But still, I trade, Travis Konecny. I trade Ivan Provorov. I believe Ivan Provorov's a complete shell of his former self. He's completely lost. We're probably not going to be able to trade Sanheim with that contract, even though I would have traded him in a heartbeat. The rest of the lining contract, even though we tried to talk into ourselves that maybe it was just, Buffalo was the reason why he just didn't play that good. But no, Rasmus Ristolainen is just a complete disaster. And that contract, too. And what you gave up for him. It's just completely awful. Got to find a way to get rid of him. Joel Farabee. Even though I do like Joel Farabee, I do believe he came back a little too early from the surgery that he had in the offseason. Even though I like him, he's not untouchable. He's not. Anyone. Morgan Frost sucks. He's completely invisible out there. He's exactly what John Tortorella compared him to, even though I know he wasn't trying to make fun of him. It was a weird analogy, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Like a toilet seat. Morgan Frost sucks. He just does. He's not good. Like, he had his good stretch of games in the beginning of the year, and ever since then, he's been invisible. Invisible. I've just had enough. I've had a complete enough with this team. Like, if you go through the roster right now, let's do that. Kevin Hayes, he's point per game. He's got 24 points. You got to sell high on that. If he continues at the rate that he's going, you got to sell high on that with Kevin Hayes. Travis Konecny, he's over point per game. He's got 20 points in 18 games played. You got to sell on that if teams want him at the trade deadline, honestly. Joel Farabee, 14 points. Tony DeAngelo. I feel like they were giving him a little too much, but, because Tony DeAngelo, he's a guy that can quarterback a power play. He's more of a second, third pairing type of defenseman. But he's been playing a lot of minutes. I don't think he's been terrible. I thought he's actually been okay. Then he got injured and all that stuff. Ivan Provorov. Owen Tippett. No idea what this guy is. Noah Cates, I think he's solid. But, Travis Sanheim, he's not been good this year. Zach McEwen. Honestly, Zach McEwen's been one of your best forwards all year. And that's a bad thing. It's not a knock on Zach McEwen whatsoever. But if Zach McEwen is one of your best forwards and he's getting power play time, Like, that's how bad it is. He's getting power play time. Power play time. Scott Lawton, Sedlak, Nick Sealer. My God, Nick Delorier in this contract. Nick Delorier, he's a guy that's hard to find, man. Hard to find. Wade Allison injured again. As much as I like Allison, he's way too injury prone. You just can't help it. Unfortunate, unlucky. Zamula, Justin Braun, Rasmus Ristolainen, Max Wellman. My God. My goodness. And Carter Hart, he's been your best, I would say, overall player this year. He had an unreal start to the season. Unreal start. I think he won his first 6 games, had an unbelievable save percentage and goals against. But with the way the team that's in front of him, you know those numbers were eventually going to come back down to earth a little bit. Even though I still think his numbers are overall really solid. 7-6-4, 281 goals against, 914 save percentage. He's the least of the concerns. Least of the concerns. Felix Sandstrom, you're getting whiff of a guy that's been in the NHL for the first time in his career, basically full-time backup role. Yeah, his numbers don't stand out a lot. 8.89 save percentage, that's not good. 3-4 goals against average. Sign of a team making his first full season in the NHL, and he's also not playing in front of a good team, or playing in front of a not good team. You know what I mean? Just don't know what to say anymore. With the way this roster, I understand injuries are a factor into everything. They are. Injuries are definitely a factor, but they're not the main reason why this team is bad. This team is just overall bad. Cap space, they got $2.4 million in cap space, and that's with the players that are currently on LTIR. That's with the players currently on there. Look at their roster, just in construction. Kevin Hayes, he's got 3 more years left after this season with a $7.1 million cap hit. Cam Atkinson, especially going to Cam Atkinson, I almost forgot about this. You're talking about yesterday with Chuck Fletcher and being absolutely clueless. He has no idea if Cam Atkinson's had this injury before or not. Because you get Cam Atkinson in one tweet from Sam Carchidi talking about, no, this is not an injury I've dealt with before. This is something brand new to me. And then you get Chuck Fletcher in his press conference saying this is something that Cam's dealt with before. It's just taking longer. What are we doing? What are we doing? Are we that lost? Is Chuck Fletcher that much out of the loop? How stupid is he? How stupid is he? Like, seriously, how do you not know? How do you not know anything, man? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. How do you not know if this guy's had the injury before or not? That's how much out of the loop you are. Especially when you're saying you think you can compete. Because you're 5 points out of a wild card spot. My ass. My ass. Looking at the rest of the contracts here. Konecny's got 2 years after this at a $5.5 million cap hit. Joel Farabee's new contract just started. I don't think he's getting traded anytime soon, even though I do like him. I don't think he's untouchable. Scott Walton's got 3 years after this with a $3 million cap hit. Nick Delorier in his 3 years left at 1.75. Owen Tippett's got another year left after this. Noah Cates an RFA. McEwen's an RFA. Sedlak's an UFA because he was a waiver claim. Morgan Frost, I'd trade him in a heartbeat. Trade him in a heartbeat. Get out of here. Patrick Brown's a UFA. Max Woolman's a UFA. Look at the defense in all of these contracts with the defense. Provorov, 2 more years after this, $6.75 million cap hit. He is a shell of what he used to be. My God, Provorov is nowhere near the same player at all. I just don't understand what happened. Rasmus Ristolainen, 4 years left. $5.1 million cap hit. Trade him, retain salary. There's definitely a team that could probably want him. Who knows? Tony DeAngelo, he was signed to the 2-year deal. He's got 1 more year left at $5 million after this. Travis Sanheim, his contract doesn't kick in until next year. $6.25 million cap hit. 8 years. 8 years. 8 years. That's Travis Sanheim. And like I said, it's not saying Sanheim's a bad player. He's a fine player in this league. You don't commit 8 years to that. Especially that cap hit. You just don't. You just don't do that at all. I don't know why Chuck Fletcher is still handing out these contracts, even though most likely his job is in jeopardy. Dude is desperate. The dude is absolutely desperate. Justin Braun, he's a UFA after this year. Sealer, he's got another year after this. My God. Carter Hart, he's got 1 more year after this one. He's an RFA after that as well. I feel bad for Carter Hart. I really do. With the way he's trying to keep this team in games. You just see constant breakdowns, especially in yesterday's game. I know he had that one terrible goal that he allowed on a bad bounce on a dump in. But overall, he was keeping that team in the game yesterday. It was basically Tampa Bay versus Carter Hart. That was it. Like I said, Carter Hart is the least of the worries of this team. He is. Look at the injured reserve, too. Sean Couturier, his contract just started. 7 more years of a $7.75 million cap hit of a guy that's had 2 back surgeries in a row. 2 back surgeries. How do you even expect that guy to come back and be fully 100%? You shouldn't. You should not. That's bottom line. That was a monstrosity of a contract when it was signed. It was. JVR, he's done after this year. When he comes back, he's most likely going to be trade deadline bait. Retain salary for the end of the year. Try to get something more, I would assume. Wade Allison's on LTIR. No, actually, these guys are on injury reserve. Coots is even on LTIR. Ryan Ellis is the lone guy on LTIR. Just think of that trade, too. Think of that trade, too, between Philly, Vegas, and Nashville. How poorly that's turned out for all 3 teams. Ryan Ellis, we knew he had injury problems. Not to this extent, to where it's most likely career-ending. And I know there's a bunch of reports and rumors, all that stuff, that he doesn't even try and all that. So, there's that. Nolan Patrick with the unfortunateness of, the migraines and the concussions. Looks like they're just all catching up to him. Most likely not even playing this year with Vegas. Who knows if his career is even in jeopardy at that point. And Phil Myers can't even crack a roster at this point. He was traded with, in the Ryan McDonough trade, I believe, to Tampa Bay. And he just got waived today. Again. I think this is the second time he's been waived on Tampa Bay, or at least he got waived once with Nashville. I forget, even though, whatever it is, he got waived twice. So, just think about how poorly that trade has completely aged for every team. Every team. Even though Nashville got Ryan McDonough out of it, but still. My God. Bobby Brink's injured. If you're just looking at any of the young guys here. We're going to get into the drafts as well. So that's definitely something to think about as well. So don't worry about that. He also got dead cap from buyouts. This team is still paying Ilya Bryzgalov. I know it doesn't count to the cap. I think they're still paying Ilya Bryzgalov because it shows up on Cap Friendly. I think they're paying him until, for another 4 years after this. That's how long they're paying Bryzgalov. Even though it doesn't count towards the cap, they're still paying him. Oscar Lindblom, you're paying him for another year after this. You saved money on the cap this year, you gained cap space this year with the buyout. You'll lose cap space next year, even though it's like only $600K. You're still losing cap space. And then you get, overall with this team, I guess I forgot the most important point. The annual 10-game losing streak. The annual 10-game losing streak. You did it again. You're past, 12 games, you lost 11 of them. It's a joke at this point. It's simply a joke. Losing streak, it starts November 10th against Columbus. 5-2 loss, you lose the game against Ottawa, lose against Dallas, lose against Columbus again in overtime, lose to Boston, lose to Montreal, lose to Calgary, lose to Washington in overtime, get smacked by Pittsburgh, lose to the Islanders, and then you beat the Islanders to snap the skid. But then once again, you get owned by Tampa Bay. And this stretch upcoming, it doesn't get any easier from here. New Jersey on Saturday, Colorado on Monday, Washington Wednesday, Vegas on the 9th. And this starts a road trip. Vegas on the 9th, then you play in Arizona, Colorado again, and then New Jersey, the Rangers. There's going to be a lot of more losses piled up here, man. A lot of more losses piled up here, boys. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a ton. That's simply because of that. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And look at the standings with the way this team is. They're the 7th worst team in the league. They're tied with Vancouver and Buffalo. It's weird Buffalo this low in the standings with the way Tage Thompson is playing. It just feels weird. But at the end of the day, they are the Buffalo Sabres. And I guess they're doomed. But teams that are below the Flyers, San Jose, Arizona, Ottawa, Columbus, Chicago, and Anaheim. Teams that are battling out for the Tankathon, the draft, Connor Bedard. Do I think the Flyers get lucky in that draft lottery? I have no idea. I'm just going to say no. Just going to say no. But can the hockey gods bless us with a draft lottery win? You have to wait till June or July, whenever the draft lottery is most likely June. Or even the draft lottery is most likely in April or May or whatever. The draft lottery is always at the beginning of the playoffs. I don't know. This team makes my brain so scrambled. It makes my brain hurt. It makes my heart hurt. It makes everything hurt. It's how much I hate this organization right now. It's how much hate I have for it. Just is. Just is. How much hate I have for this goddamn organization. I love this team to death. I ride or die orange and black. But I absolutely despise this organization with the way it's being ran. Into the dirt. Just is. Both can be true. You can love this team, but you can also hate it at the same time. And fans are showcasing that. They're tired. They're tired of the way the team's being ran. Just sucks. It just does. So, let's look at, I know I talked about how poor this team's drafting has been. I feel like that's, the last segment we'll get into here. Because with the whole Chuck Fletcher nonsense here, when does he get fired? I have no idea. I know there's rumblings that it could happen soon. I would hope it happens before the trade deadline because I do not want this team constructing any futures with this team anymore. I just don't. But I know there's also rumblings that, he could also just remain the president of hockey operations and all that. And I'm like, if that just happens and Briere's just promoted to the GM, you're not fixing anything. If Chuck is still the president of hockey ops, he's still going to make decisions. I don't think Dave Scott has the balls to make any moves. I just don't think so. Him or Comcast. They don't care. They just absolutely don't care what the fans think. I think that's bottom line. Dave Scott has no idea what he's doing. Comcast has no idea how to run a team. I feel like Comcast gives two shits about the Flyers at this point. Is this team ever going to sell to a new owner? This team, seriously, this team's just everything died along with Ed Snyder. When Ed Snyder passed, everything went away. And that's obvious at this point. But just sickening. It just is with the way this team has become. One of a first-class organization in the National Hockey League. And now they're just running to the dirt by a corporation. Corporations ruin sports, boys. I think we all know this. Corporations ruin it. What does this Flyers team need in an ownership? They need, they need someone out there that wants to either buy a share in the team, majority share, and get Comcast's, fingers off of everything. You need a group of people, a group of 3-4 people possibly, that want to buy the team, that they buy shares in the team to where they can control everything. And then they wipe everything to the dirt. Because you got to clean this entire front office, even if you do want to keep Danny Briere. Clean the front office, clean the development staff. Development with this team has been garbage. Garbage. And that's a good tie into these drafts. Let's talk about these drafts. Because, they're amazing, aren't they? They're amazing, these draft picks. I know the past few drafts, you probably can't judge yet. You can't judge just this year's draft whatsoever. You can't. Well, this past draft, Cutter Gauthier, 5th overall pick. It's hard for me to get excited about prospects with the way this team develops them. Even though deep down, I'm still excited about Cutter Gauthier because he is lighting the lamp up for Boston College. And most likely, I would assume he's going to be on Team USA's roster for the World Juniors, so maybe that'll be an exciting watch there. Maybe I can actually be excited about something with this team. The 2021 draft, you really can't judge there either. They didn't have a first-round pick. Even though they did draft this Tuamala guy, I know the 2021 draft was basically a crapshoot because there was no scouting whatsoever just because of everything with COVID. So, still can't judge that draft yet. 2020, I'm intrigued about Tyson Forrester, Emil Andre, all that stuff. Deone, Wisdom. Those guys are all, majority, 3 of them are down with the Phantoms. Forrester's been playing good down there. Wisdom, he's been playing solid. Same thing with Deone. Emil Andre, he's still over in Sweden. I have no idea when he's going to be coming over, but there's some intriguing things right there, but still, those drafts are way too early to tell anything there. Then you go to 2019. This is where the pain starts. This is where, the pain starts, where you start to think of everything here. You draft Cam York. Now, Cam York, he got a little bit of, stuff from John Tortorella during training camp. John Tortorella really believes in the potential of Cam York and really wants him to get it out. And he kind of got exposed in training camp, in preseason, a lot of stuff. Goes back down to Lehigh Valley. Even though he's putting up good numbers there, I have no idea what Cam York is. And then the person you should have drafted. 14th overall. And you moved down too, and he was still on the board at this point. Everyone knows where I'm going with this. You should have drafted Cole Caulfield. A guy that scored in one season 115 goals. 115 goals. And he's up here lighting the lamp for the Montreal Canadiens, doing things in the playoffs when they went on their Stanley Cup run. Scoring 20-plus goals already. Looking at his career, he's played 100 games. He's got 70 points already, 40 goals in 100 games played. This year, he's got 13 goals, 22 points in 23 games for Montreal. Ooh, that's definitely not a guy the Flyers need. No, let's draft Cam York. It's not a knock on Cam York. It's not. I have no idea what he is. But I know what Cole Caulfield is. And I'm becoming a superstar in this league. Flyers could have had him. They chose not to go after him. Sad. And then you draft Bobby Brink. Even though I do like Bobby Brink, what does he know more than? Second line player at best. Third line player at best. There's no Cole Caulfield. You get Roddy Nattard. Yeah, 2019, maybe you could still say it's too early to judge. But then when you're seeing guys like Cole Caulfield light it up, it's kind of hard to look back at that. It really is. Then you go to 2018. 2018. Joel Farabee. He's been a good player for your team. Definitely has. I still think he came back way too early from injury. Joel Farabee, he's been probably one of the more productive guys out of the 2018 draft class, so maybe there's something there. Then you get pick 19. Remember a guy named Jay O'Brien? Jay O'Brien. A guy that hasn't touched professional hockey at all. He's still in college at 23 years old. Jay O'Brien. Jay O'Brien, boys. Jay O'Brien. Love that pick. Absolutely love it. And then we go to the year where I feel like this draft really killed this future of the organization at this point when you look back at it. Second overall pick, 2017, Nolan Patrick. Even though at that point, rumors and everything, whatever you want to bring up, yes, Nolan Patrick was the consensus second overall pick. Was the right move at the time. Unfortunately with the way it turned out. But then you look at the next of it, Morgan Frost, Isaac Ratcliffe. Your next two picks. This draft screwed you. You got unfortunate with Nolan Patrick. Morgan Frost is not good. And Isaac Ratcliffe is Isaac Ratcliffe. I think this draft really killed you. Because if you look at the another team that drafted in maybe the same positions as you in that year's draft, the Dallas Stars. They got Miro Heiskanen, third overall. They draft Jake Ottinger, who was a stud for them in last year's playoffs. Oh yeah, another guy by Robertson. Jason Robertson, I believe. Jason Robertson. Yep. Let's look at Jason Robertson. What is he doing this year in the NHL? What he's been doing basically his entire career. In 152 games, he's got 164 points. 80 goals, 84 assists. He's got 39 points this year in 24 games played. He's already got 22 goals. You can look at one draft as something that saves the future of a franchise like the Dallas Stars because now they got three key parts of a young core there to add on to what they have for their future. Ottinger, Robertson, and Heiskanen. And look at what the Flyers did. Nolan Patrick, Morgan Frost, Isaac Ratcliffe. And then also, the elephant in the room of Cal McCarr as well. That's also something there. Stanley Cup winner. Conn Smythe winner. I believe he won the Conn Smythe. But still, yeah. 2017 killed you. You did get Noah Cates there, but Noah Cates isn't to the level of those guys. Not even close. 2016 draft. Oh, this first round was terrible. German Rupstoff. German Rupstoff was your first round pick there. You did get Carter Hart and Wade Allison. Carter Hart is your goaltender of the future. Like I said, I feel like he's probably the lone untouchable guy on this roster. But that's basically it of that draft. 2015, yeah, you did get Travis Konecny and Ivan Provorov. Those guys have been, mainstays of your main core for a while now. Even though I think Provorov is a complete shell of what he used to be. And Travis Konecny, like I said, he's having a nice bounce back. Definitely. He's not untouchable. I'd move him in a heartbeat. 2014, Travis Sanheim out. Nicholas Hobie-Kubel. 2013, Sam Moran, Robert Haig. Robert Haig with a second-round pick. 2012, Scott Lawton. Did get Shane Gostisbehere there, but we all know how Shane Gostisbehere ended up. 2011, Sean Couturier. Probably your last big hit with a first overall pick. A guy that's actually been productive, like consistently. Sean Couturier. I know if you want to bring up, Konecny and Provorov and all that stuff, I would say the last guy was really Couturier. Because even if you look before Couturier, who was even before Couturier? 2010, they didn't have a first-round pick. 2009, they didn't have a first-round pick. 2008, they drafted Lucas Spiza. 2007, they got screwed over in that draft lottery. Could have got Patrick Kane, but nope, they ended second overall, got JVR. 2006, Claude Giroux. Before Couturier, Claude Giroux was the last guy, probably to make a major impact on the organization. And then before that was Jeff Carter, Mike Richards. Like first-round picks that made an impact on the organization, like for the best. It was those guys. So, yeah. Drafting development has been absolutely brutal with this organization for years. And we all know this. The last guy that we drafted to turn into a bona fide star, superstar, Claude Giroux. That's basically it there. He was the last guy to even turn into that. Yeah, Couturier became out to be a very solid player. Won a Selkie and all that. It's not like I'm not knocking Couturier here at all, but right now, he's useless to this team because, 2 back injuries, 2 surgeries. And the rest is basically easily describable. These past 3 drafts, you can't judge yet because these guys are still too raw. But then even going before that, it just shows you where this team completely downfalled in their development. Completely. Besides all the, the spending and all everything there. Who knows? But gotta wait and see what happens with this organization. Looking at around Philadelphia. Eagles. They've always run the city. They're 10-1. The Phillies. They just went to the World Series. Lost to the Astros, but they're an up-and-coming team now. Sixers. Even though they're on a slow start to start the season, they're still a team that could possibly make noise in a playoff run. Then, the Union, probably you can even say, are in a better stage than the Flyers. They just lost in the final game. Then you got the Flyers. Flyers, no one cares about anymore. A hockey team that used to be, the talk of the town. Used to be a first-class organization in the league, in sports. No one cares about them anymore. And that's their own undoing. It's their own fault they're in this predicament. It's their own fault. That's bottom line. And that is bottom line. I hate this team. I hate the way they're being run. I hate everything about it. I still love this team to death, but I hate them. I despise them. I despise Chuck Fletcher. I despise this front office. I despise the way this ownership is running this team into the goddamn dirt. I just do. I know the rumblings about Briere. He could probably be hired soon, as there is a motorcycle driving past my house very loudly. When will this team ever be fixed? I have no idea. Are they ever going to sell? I have no idea. I know I see your comment right there, Boomer. You hear the rumblings that the Flyers are for sale. I hope that's true, man. I hope that's true. Would it take firing Fletcher and hiring Danny B? I couldn't tell you that, man. I can't tell you that. I have no idea what Danny Briere is. I know all this stuff with, Montreal was trying to hire him. The Flyers said no. I have no idea if that's anything to do with it, but I know John Tortorella really praises Danny B. I know Tortorella has praised him a lot, and that really tells you something there. I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough situation for any type of GM to come into this situation and try to get him out of the dirt. For any experienced GM to a rookie GM. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's bottom line there. I don't know how they fix it. Do you trust him being mentored by Chuck Fletcher? I don't know. I can understand why, I see you American loyalists saying that. I can understand not trusting Danny Briere because he's being mentored by Chuck. I can understand that wholeheartedly. We can compare ourselves to the New Orleans Pelicans. We have little to no talent on our team. We all know what happened the last time the Flyers finished last place in the league. They lost the draft lottery and got JVR when it should have been Patrick Kane. He got screwed over there too. Look at the contracts this loser GM gave the Zach Parise suitor in Minnesota. They're still paying them off. Saying this goes, the best predictor of the future behavior is past behavior. Believe it. Only the Flyers would fire a guy by giving him a promotion. He's already the president of hockey operations. He's the GM and the president. So basically, he would just still be in the same position. He would just lose the GM tag. Can the Sixers owner buy the Flyers? I have no idea if they're even interested. I think that he still owns the Devils as well. I think he's also part owner of the Devils. Tear it down and fire Fletcher. Where are Clark and Holmgren? Out to lunch. I feel like, Clark and Holmgren, I'm also a part of the reason why. We need to look at these prospects from a higher point of view too. Flyers are just suck at developing these guys. The whole thing needs to be torn down from the very top. Yep, exactly. Flyers are getting close to not winning a Stanley Cup in a half a century. Woof. Yep. Got it. Yeah, they got to get a plan. Who knows? Yeah, I know. At least the Holmgren teams work good. But I know he's a senior advisor now. I'm sure he still has his say in the way things are going right now. I know he was the last good GM this team had, but it's just clean house. You got to clean house. And who knows when the hell that's going to happen. I don't think Dave Scott has the balls to do that. Because he has no idea what he's doing. He just doesn't. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say today. Maybe we'll have another month check-in on this team. Maybe the next video stream I'll have talking about the Flyers is when Chuck Fletcher is finally fired. Whenever that's going to be. I have no idea when that's going to happen. The daily Flyers recaps, I just can't do them anymore. I simply can't do them because of how bad this team is. But just got to wait and see at this point. It's a long season. Still got a long way to go. More disappointment, more anger, more everything. But I'll keep you guys updated when, the next big thing in Flyers news happens. And definitely, stay tuned with the channel for, Eagles recaps and all that stuff. Sixers recaps, we'll definitely get those back going consistently. And, whenever the Phillies decide to do things in the offseason, I think they're eventually going to. There's some rumblings out there that we can discuss in future, topics as well. So definitely stay tuned with all that. I appreciate everyone here for joining today's stream. Definitely do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I like to see this as always. Do not forget to drop a like on the video. Do not forget to check out everything in the description down below. Painted Lines, BrodesMedia. I recommend all that stuff. Same thing with hitting that subscribe button. It does me a great service. I definitely recommend you guys hit that subscribe button and join the TTP Sports family. And also use the code TTPSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. If you want to put yourself through a Flyers game, if you want to go to a Sixers game, Eagles game, or just any type of event you could think of, use that deal. $20 off your first purchase with the code TTPSPORTS. Do not pass up on that. Once again, thank you everyone for joining tonight's stream.